Hello and welcome everyone to another episode. Yes, so it is time to get this base back off the ground, and it has been a little while since I've even worked on this base, and I really gotta say that, I initially planned on kind of finishing everything off. You guys know how my projects usually work for those of you who've been watching for a while, but I usually jump from one project to the next, and I don't really kind of just stop on one thing and then jump to the next and then kind of go back after a little while. But, this base, I do gotta say, the initial base design that I had was kind of choppy. And it's always funny because my first bases, or the first time I ever try something, really is a very poor attempt generally, and I really gotta say that. I do try my best, but there are certain things where, it's always kind of like the testing phase to figure out whether or not something works, and then after that, then you kind of expand on it, and then you refine, and you keep on refining the design to the point of which that it really kind of takes off and just becomes a thing of beauty. But, yeah, so anyways, the update is out, and I have not gotten it yet. I am currently in the process of downloading it, and I will be doing a video on it very shortly, but I have been questioning things a little bit, and it's generally in my nature to do so. I don't really have very big game talks and things like that, nor do I really do anything involved. I usually just generally kind of play the game and kind of leave my 2 cents out. Which, I don't know if you guys would like to hear, or if you have any specific questions for me regarding like video games and stuff like that. I generally enjoy answering those questions, considering I've been playing games for a very long time, and I've seen a lot, and I've experienced a lot as far as, developers, and, and anything that generally affects the community of gaming, I generally kind of follow, at least to some extent. And, Jesus, that is a lot of stuff flying away. It looks like we lost a fin or two or something. I don't know. Whatever. Not that big of a deal. We're already in space anyway, so we don't need any aerodynamics for any of this stuff. But, yeah, so it leads me back to my question. Now, mind you, for those of you who are new, and, you don't know my channel, or people who are just watching, and they happen to just stumble across this video, I want to make it very clear that, I love this game, I've been playing it, it is probably one of my favorite games I've ever played, and really enjoyed kind of the community and everyone else around it, and it speaks to that inner part of me that has been always wanting a game like this, and it really is absolutely what I've been looking for. However, there are some issues I am somewhat skeptical about, and I don't want to just go based off of this one update, but the last few updates, and I've really been questioning this, and it's more of the side of innovation on this game and what the developers plan to do with it, which would be Squad. Indie developing now has become such a thing that it is very volatile, and I've noticed this, like, not even with just one game in particular, or even saying that this game, as far as the development cycle, or I should say the update cycle, being somewhat volatile as far as when we see our updates. And I'm not asking for a constant stream of content. I do understand that developing takes a lot of time. Updating games takes a lot of time. I really do understand most of the stuff behind it, and I do know that being overwhelming and asking for too much sometimes isn't always the best thing either. But the one question I really been wondering is, as far as the parts and certain things that have been added over the last few updates, they have been generally modded parts that have already existed, which, if the main part of this update, as far as I can really understand, they did add damage to the buildings, as far as I understand. I did not really watch any gameplay videos on this, so I don't want to, I'm probably gonna, put my foot in my mouth here in a few places, which I understand, and I will, I totally understand. After I will play the game, then maybe I'll have a better understanding of some of the other features that were added. But as far as I'm concerned, the spaceplane parts, I had that mod already installed on my modded series, which a lot of people recommended already. So I knew about it, and I already had it installed. I actually saw the mod when, it was somewhat new, and I already kind of was like, yeah, this is a really awesome thing. You had the little bay inside. You can add a bay inside the ship. I don't know if that part actually got added. I didn't see everything on the wiki, so I'm not 100% certain on what parts got added, which ones didn't. But my main questioning behind all of this is how many mods are going to be added to this game as far as original content, because the KSPX, I forgot the name of the girl, don't get me wrong on that, but I know she got hired into the team, and basically most of the parts from the KSPX mod pack just got added to the game already. So there's only a few parts that did not get added, which one of them happened to be one of my favorites, which was the nuclear engine, but it was the orange tank size, or whatever you would like to call it, but I think that's the 3 meter part or whatever it's called. I'm not 100% certain, but that is, it's the size just below the new largest size that recently got added. But yeah, I was just curious as far as like what you guys really think about the mods being added into the game on like a lot of the recent mods that have been added I should say parts were mods initially that just got added to the game. And I understand a little bit that, even if they were to create a part that was just like the mod, then people would just make fun of them for saying, oh, well, you didn't want to add the mod, but you made something that was basically the same thing as a mod. So I just kind of have been really questioning as far as not really why I've been playing this game or anything like that, because this game is just obviously freaking awesome. But I just really been wondering about why, kind of just why these mods have been added to the game, as opposed to them creating some new parts or some new content to the game. That is my main thing. Like, one of the things I kind of thought was weird is that a lot of the Easter eggs that have been in the game have, at least from what my understanding is, have been taken out. Which, I mean, it kind of takes away a little bit of fun, but I can't complain if it was causing some kind of an issue with the engine, or just something in general where it just could not be in here, or maybe it just got in the way. But, that is kind of one of the things I've been really wondering, and I'm not trying to cause up like any big storm with any of this. It's just really questioning things as far as how everything is going to be going on for the future updates and just about everything else. But anyways, guys, we'll talk a little bit more about this once we get closer to our asteroid base. Alright, and we've arrived. This is looking pretty good. I'm fairly happy about all of this. I was expecting to pull up to the asteroid, and I don't know if you guys noticed it, or if you guys didn't see it in the last episode, but kind of how the whole base just turned into one big ball of anger. So, it did not happen. But, you know, once again, I'm hoping my comments about this game also don't really turn my comments into one big ball of anger about this game. I don't really want to make it sound like it's just mere questions from somebody who enjoys playing this game. That is pretty much where I want to go with that, and pretty much where I will sit with some of that. You know, I am somewhat skeptical of when it comes down to the community, as far as not as far as the Kerbal community, but just the indie developing trend that has been going on for the last few years. I've always been somewhat skeptical towards it because certain developers and certain games have come out. I mean, if you guys watch Total Biscuit, he has covered and talked about a lot of this stuff at great lengths, which is a lot of very, very good questions that I also have been asking myself over a good period of time since, you know, kind of Minecraft's inception, or inception, yeah, just ever since Minecraft it has been really kind of birthed into the gaming community, and it's just been one of those things that I've really been somewhat skeptical about, as far as how the indie developing has been handled, and you know, certain things with Steam. A lot of people tend to love Steam, and I do have my love, but you know, Steam does have some drawbacks in it, and that is kind of always where I will sit on any particular subject. I generally always try to stay somewhat neutral on subjects, because I always try to, in my mind, I always try to justify it to myself and try to be as understanding as possible, because I know that developing a game is not something that is for the faint of heart. It is a very big process, and it's not something that you just casually get into. And I ever since now that I've been really, I mean, I've played around with coding before, here and there. I really have never done anything too serious, but you know, it's every time I get into it, I always get the same feeling of being overwhelmed by the amount of stuff that needs to be done. You know, and it's just, it doesn't seem like, you know, at the end of the day, it always doesn't seem like it's so much, but it really does get to that point where you're like, oh my god, there is so many different things that need to be done, and there's not very much time. Even though somehow in your mind you always try to justify it and say, well, if I have the time to do all this, then how do they not have the time to add X, Y, and Z to the game? So, you know, I don't want to get into that kind of debate. I know there are a lot of people out there that really don't like this game or like Squad because of the way that they release updates, and I've read a lot of very negative stuff about this game. So it always kind of, you know, I always try to lean towards the middle grounds and try to understand both points of view, at least to some extent. You know, there are certain things, I mean, I don't choose this specific point of view for everything. I mean, there are certain issues that if we were to talk about them, I have a very clear and set point of view, and you will never change it. But let's get this thing locked up here. Let's just get going with this. Now, I did have plans on adding possibly a fuel base to this. That will be something that, you know, I'd really want your guys' opinion on. If you want to see a fuel base added on, we can do that. There are a few other things, you know, just regular stuff. I was thinking about bringing the MMU pack back again, and so we can have another little MMU setup, which I actually enjoyed that. I thought it was really cool to have something like that on the base. But let's see, we need to go forward. Get rid of all that added momentum, and let's get down here a little bit too. No, that's not down. What am I doing? Yeah, my fingers are on the wrong keys, as usual. That is probably my #1 thing with this game that keeps happening, is I will, go to use my translation controls, which, for those of you, some people will actually switch over into this docking mode. I don't ever use that. I never learned using that. I was playing this game before I think even the docking mode was really added, and I've been used to using just the IJKL, H, and N keys, and that's pretty much all I ever use. But the other thing that a lot of people also recommend as well, which I'm not against using, I just don't see the purpose in it, because I feel like I'm fairly proficient at docking. Yeah, I mean, maybe some people think I'm not that good at it, but I really don't know. But a lot of people recommend getting the docking mod, which I'm like, yeah, but I mean, I know how to dock already, so what's the point in getting it? I mean, I maybe if there's some kind of feature that I'm just overlooking, where I'm like, oh yeah, I know how to dock, well, why would I need something like that? Let's see, I'm trying to make sure that all this stuff kind of stays somewhat on the same level. I'm just not sure if it all is or not. Let's see, let's try to line this up a little bit better. Now, I did make this curved just slightly. If you guys can see, there is a little bit of a curve on there. I'll explain it more once we get this thing attached to the asteroid. That way we can really take a good look at all of the stuff on this little base we have here. And we're also going down a little bit more than I want to, so I think I'll be backing off and also pulling up. Oh god, we're hitting the wrong one. Yes, so I just get done talking about how great I am at docking, and that happens. I don't know if you could consider this docking, but whatever. It's sort of like docking. If docking were just, you know, attaching to a big object in the middle of space without using a docking port and just using a hook. I don't even know if this stuff can actually hook onto other pieces in the game. I don't think it can, as far as I know. I know you can pick up Kerbals with these things, but I don't know if you can actually do anything else as far as like grabbing onto a structural piece that you planted somewhere or whatever, but let's see. Alright, that's looking pretty good right there. I think, you know, if I'm off, I can always reattach this and move it a little bit. It's not that much of an issue. I just didn't want to be that far off. But I tried to make a little bit better decisions as far as how I'm going to be attaching this. As far as I can understand, I think this is probably the best way, but, you know, there could be a better way. We get a lot of cupolas over here now. I thought cupolas would probably be the best addition to a base like this. So, that was just kind of my last minute decision. I was like, yeah, we need to put just boatloads of cupola modules on this. And we will be attached here in somewhere around now. Looking beautiful. Although I don't like it how it repositions that camera. That drives me nuts. Alright, so where is our... Alright, this one is not the occupied one. So, what I will be doing, you know, I talked about a rescue mission, is that we will be getting these guys from this base to this base. And, I've kind of worked out how I'm going to do it. I'm probably going to build a very large ship that has probably at least a good 2 or 3 of these on there, maybe 4 of them. I don't remember exactly how many Kerbals are over there, but I don't think it was very many. I think I had only like 3 or 4. But, yeah, we'll be saving them and bringing them to this base. So let's see. I think everything else is set up. I probably got to transfer in some RCS, so I'll do that here for a second. Alright, so everything's looking pretty good. There wasn't very much that I had to add as far as RCS fuel. I think I got all the tanks, but I usually always miss 1 or 2. Yeah, it looks like we missed something here. There is some fuel missing, but everything's looking pretty good. Now, I should cover our last base. Once again, I was talking about it a little bit as far as how big it was. Uh, this is obviously a very, very big base compared to my last one. I believe all we had was 2 of these, and the science module, and just a small set of solar panels, and then I ended up designing this bad boy for the connection between 2 asteroids. So I decided to just kind of throw out the old design and throw out a lot of the old stuff. Not really that I wanted to just restart the base from scratch. I kind of had plans from that, and from the get-go anyways. I was going to just kind of detach the whole base, but you know, the fact that the asteroid just wasn't cooperating, and the whole idea of even changing out all of that stuff wasn't working out, kind of was a blessing. So I kind of just got to start completely from scratch without worrying about any of the old base. But what we will be doing is, you know, rescuing them the next episode, hopefully. I'm not really looking forward to doing that, because it's probably going to be a pain in the butt, but I don't think it's going to be too much of an issue. I always say that, but, you know, on here as well, I did throw on, you know, the usual features. I threw on a few extra solar panels. The one thing I was always curious about is because I was reading somewhere, I can't remember where, that it said that the fuel, or I should say the crossfeed was not, these asteroids were not crossfeed capable, and as far as I can understand it, they are. I mean, I don't know if an engine will work specifically, but you know, as far as the electrical current from these solar panels over here is being, or they are charging this base, even though they aren't directly connected except through these asteroids. So I don't know how that works. Maybe you know, Jebidiah is out there with like extension cords, and he's just running them along the asteroids when we're not looking. But you know, that's pretty much the best thing I can come up with. The rest on the space, you know, it's the normal stuff that I add on. I always throw on a few satellite dishes and some radio communications antennas. I just, you know, think it adds a little bit of like flair, or whatever you want to call it, to the station. Makes it look a little bit more legit than just, you know, putting up the modules and that's it. So for right now, I mean, our base capacity is actually pretty high right now. We have, that is able to store, each one of these connectors here, I believe, stores 5, so we got 5, 10, and what is this, 4, 24, so that's 34, 35, and 36 Kerbals on an asteroid base. I'm probably missing something, and you guys are like, dude, it's 40, but yeah. So anyways, guys, definitely added on the base. Things are looking pretty awesome. I'm pretty happy about being able to set this up again, and yeah. So if you guys like what you see here, subscribe. There's always more to come. To all you new people, welcome. And yeah, I will see you next time.